Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Argyle Digital CMO virtual event. My name is Vicki Lynn Brunskill with Argyle. Just a couple of notes before I do to turn things over to our keynote speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsor's virtual booth at any time during today's event and for the following week. And sponsored booths are accessible from the main agenda page for this event. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we'll address your questions at the end of each session. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Matt Corey, Chief Marketing Officer at the PGA Tour. We are so excited to have Matt with us for his keynote presentation titled Inspiring Audiences and Adapting Your Marketing Strategy, Lessons Learned in 2020 to Apply to 2021 and Beyond. Welcome, Matt. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to be here. And it's interesting. I was reflecting on this last night, and I started at the PGA Tour. Been in golf for about 15 years, but I started the PGA Tour in October of 2019. And about 4.5 months into my job, the world stopped. So it was an incredible learning experience. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we did during the course of the shutdown and how we continue to try to inspire fans and entertain fans, but do it appropriately. But it's been a crazy first year and 4 to 5 months for me on this job. But, hindsight being 2020, I'm not sure I would have had it any other way. You learn a lot about your team members and your colleagues when you fight through what we've fought through. So we'll kind of dive right in, and I'll take you through a little bit of the PGA Tour strategy. And I'm going to go back to, let's see here. The beginning of our shutdown. So it was the Players Championship, which is one of the biggest golf tournaments on the planet. Last March, literally a year and 1 week ago, the NBA had shut down on a Wednesday night. We tried to start our tournament. We played one day of the 4 days of the Players Championship, and then we stopped Thursday night. And we basically said, everything from a marketing perspective had to pretty much stop and shut down. We focused on news first, meaning what's going on, what's happening with the PGA Tour, are any players sick, et cetera. And we really focused on that for the first several days, and then quickly shifted into a very transparent, open, and honest discussion about, look, we don't know the path forward here, but we're going to figure it out. And we're going to figure it out by keeping everyone safe first. So we focused on health and safety, and we're honest about, hey, this is a global pandemic. We've never done this before, so we're going to have to work through some things. We then began to shift gears about a week after our shutdown, after we really were continuing to promote news, into stories of how players were giving back to local communities. We took all the food from the golf tournament here and gave it to organizations across Northeast Florida to help feed families and folks across the area. And then we started to shift gears into look, this is an extraordinary situation. So how do we begin to entertain fans? Because like a lot of us, about 4 or 5 weeks into the shutdown, as we were getting used to working from home and trying to figure out the world, we also probably, some of us probably started to get a little bit bored, and we needed entertainment brands to do that, entertain us. So we really worked through what I'll call three phases of marketing. Number one, instead of coming out with a message from all of our athletes, Tiger Woods and John Rahm and Rory McIlroy, et cetera, saying, here's how to wash your hands, which every brand on the planet was already doing, we said, no, we need to emotionally connect in a different way. And we asked our players to talk about how much they missed fans. They missed the energy of seeing fans at tournaments. They missed the energy of fans interacting with them on social and digital channels, et cetera, but especially during live events. So we had our players record messages to our fans, and we created an entire campaign just talking about how what they missed the most was you, the fan. And that was a good first step. We shifted then into what we called impact stories, which again is like, what are players doing to give back? And you see a little kid here who's opening a box. And inside the box is this incredible surprise from one of our players. And it was fun to tell those stories of our players doing good and the PGA Tour giving back to local communities, despite us not having tournaments for 91 days. Finally, we shifted gears into what we'll call phase three. Phase three, phase three was we had to start thinking about how we were going to return to golf right after we shut down. So we're in the middle of stopping all of our marketing and rethinking everything. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of those changes in just a second. But we had to start thinking about how we were going to return. Like, how are we going to suddenly come back from an unprecedented period of time when sports has been shut down, when the PGA Tour has been shut down? In the past, the PGA Tour was shut down for 1 week, and this was 3 months. So what we did was we created a strategy of letting the world announce that players were back. So what's typical at a golf tournament is on Thursday or Friday, there'll be an announcer on the first tee who says, now on the tee or next on the tee from Jupiter, Florida, a 15-time, 13-time, 12-time major champion or whatever it might be. And then they'll introduce the player. So instead of now on the tee or next on the tee, we changed it to back on the tee because our players are coming back after 91 to 92 days of being off. And it was really incredible. We started to reach out to a few celebrities and fans about recording messages, and it exploded. We had so many messages recorded from fans and individuals all over the world. And I'm going to show you one of those spots. We did that, and we also did a fun spot as we came back that was designed to inspire the world and understand what they were going through. Like we wanted to pay respects to what we've all been going through of trying to play golf inside and entertain ourselves. But we flipped that message to the fact that now it's time for the PGA Tour to entertain you again. So I'm going to play both of them. Here's the first spot where we have a bunch of folks, Ahmad Rashad and a bunch of others, introducing players as they came back for that very first tournament in Texas in the middle of June last year.
Back on the tee.
Back on the tee.
Back on the tee. Here we go.
Bubba Watson.
Jordan Spieth.
Tiger Woods.
Rory McIlroy. Dustin Johnson. What's Koepka? Brooks Koepka. Max Homa.
Sergio Garcia.
Tony Finau.
And Bama boy, Justin Thomas.
Let's go.
The PGA Tour is back on the tee.
So you'll notice the tone there. When we shut down, we had to be very serious. We had to talk news only and be very careful about our tone. It wasn't time to entertain people yet, but you'll notice this tone of that spot was 3 months after we shut down in March of 2020. And it was time to be a little more energetic and time to inspire people. And they wanted that. They wanted sports to come back. They wanted something to distract them. So here's the second spot that I was talking about. The first 14, 15 seconds basically shows fans what they're going through in a fun way. We used user-generated content directly from fans themselves. And then we flipped it to say, now it's our turn to entertain you. So here's that spot that ran as we came back into golf. So by the way, that little kid who was running across the living room at the end screaming Tiger Woods, you can't have any marketing better than that. That was a video that we found through Instagram, reached out to the family. They agreed to allow us to use it. It was incredible. Like he's like a 2-year-old running towards the TV because he's excited to see Tiger Woods, and he's got his little plastic club. And that's some of the best marketing you could ever possibly do. And let your fans participate in their level of excitement that that golf is back. And if you'll notice, we showed fans in their home celebrating, not out on a golf course. And so what the PGA Tour had done in its past is it created a campaign with a slogan or a tagline that we're really no longer using, but it was really called Live Under Par. And a lot of the creative showed fans interacting with players at tournaments, high-fiving each other, hugging one another, getting close for selfies. COVID, none of that. You can't show any of that, right? I mean, it's not happening, number one, and it's tone deaf if you keep doing it, frankly. I will pick on a TV spot that I saw, and I won't tell you what the brand is, but about 2.5 weeks into the shutdown around the country, I saw a TV spot for a mobile brand where there was a bunch of people in an apartment and they were eating cheese dip by dipping their fingers in the cheese dip and feeding each other. And I'm like, okay, why are you still running that TV spot in the middle of at the beginning of a pandemic? Shut it down. And eventually it went away. But it's the point of this is you've got to immediately say to yourself, what would our fans expect us to do? What would normal fans expect us to do and how would they expect us to react? So we had to rethink our marketing approach. And if you notice the first couple of spots, it'll show a close-up of a player, but it didn't show fans interacting with players because we haven't been able to do that up until literally last week. It was a year. And now we're starting to invite a few fans back to the golf course in a very controlled way. The playoffs, we came back in June of last year. The playoffs were in late August. So we had to get ready for an exciting push to a 3-week playoff for the PGA Tour. And again, we had to make sure that we didn't show fans interacting with our players. And we had to continue to build the excitement and the momentum. So here's the creative that we produced. And you'll notice this has a different edge to it than traditionally the PGA Tour or golf has. This has a little bit of a hip hop rap vibe to it. And it's fun. It's edgy and it's youthful and it's energetic, but I'll let you be the judge. Here we go.
3 weeks of FedEx Cup playoffs to be crowned champion.
Fighters in the place, stand up now. We ain't going out quiet, ain't no how. And you knew that we would never ever back down. Smash through the gates all day like boom, pow. I do it for the glory. I do it for the victory. I do it for the stories that ain't been told. I do it for
the FedEx Cup playoffs for the PGA Tour's ultimate prize.
I do it for the glory.
So you'll notice sort of a theme here with some of the marketing in that we're going to try to continue to entertain and inspire people as we've come back to golf. One thing that I will mention too, during the shutdown, there's a question here in the chat already. And during the shutdown, we had to find different ways to entertain people. So some of you may have watched the match with Tiger versus Phil, Tom Brady, et cetera, where they held a little 2-on-2 competition to raise money for charity, and it was televised, and the players were mic'd up. Charles Barkley was commentating, and it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of smack talk, and the guys had a great time. And it also showed that non-professional golfers are human too, so we tried to create events like that, as well as some other digital events, some competitions where some players would play video game golf and allow fans to tune in and watch and interact with them in a unique way. So it was difficult during the shutdown. We had to continue to re-air. We have a product, right? So we can re-air a prior tournament that's never going to get as many eyeballs on it. So we had to find other ways to bring great value to our sponsors and our brands by doing some unique things and stuff that was a little bit different than normal. So I'll touch real quickly on 2 last things, and then we'll open it up. As we shift gears to 2021, we really recognize that we've got a unique opportunity to continue to build on the momentum that golf has. By the way, golf is a sport where you can play outside on 150 acres or just go to a driving range with your friends and you can do it 6 feet apart, right? So it can be done safely. And golf saw when everything shut down, even stores, there was a period of time when, everyone was like a little bit nervous about what was going to happen with any sport. But what we saw was golf became a sport that people could come back to or try brand new, right? Parents could send their kids to a golf camp last summer and fall, but a regular camp they couldn't do. So there were more kids and women and new golfers that came into the sport than we've seen in 25 years since Tiger Woods first burst onto the scene. So we've got to maintain that momentum, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But we've got to inspire people through content. We can't build enough great content about our players inside and outside the ropes. That's a real opportunity as we go forward with the PGA Tour. Last week, we offered everybody in the US the chance to see any player they wanted all day long on the first day of the tournament for free. So you could go in, and even if Ricky Fowler wasn't on the leaderboard, you could watch every single shot live from Ricky, right? That Ricky was hitting that day, or any other players. Fans in Japan could dial in if they wanted to follow Hideki Matsuyama during the tournament. And it's a new technology that I really think is the future of golf. Our ability to allow fans anywhere, hopefully all over the world, to pick their tournament, pick their player, and just watch live will be incredible. It takes a lot of cameras to do that, and there's a lot of cost, but we got some great feedback, and it's going to be fun to continue to innovate. Like I said earlier, we're welcoming fans back slowly. We've got to really, what I'll say, maintain our edge. We've got to continue to push the boundary on inspiring the next generation to think golf is fun and cool and hip, and they can do it safely as well. And then lastly, we need to grow and diversify golf. There's no question we need to keep doing this. And we need to do this in a way where the industry comes together and introduces golf to folks that may not have thought about golf before. And when I say introduce golf, here's what we're doing. We got together last fall, brands across the entire industry, TaylorMade, Callaway, PGA Tour Superstore, organizations, retailers, manufacturers, different organizations that cater to diverse golfers as well. And we said, we've got to take advantage of the momentum, and we've got to diversify our sport. So there's a lot of efforts related to hiring and working with HBCUs. I'm leading a marketing effort. We've got a great group of people that are helping, where we need to show golf in non-traditional ways. Just because you don't have 14 clubs or belong to a country club doesn't mean you can't play golf. And you see some of the images on the screen here. The little girl in her backyard who's got a plastic club and some balls. She's playing golf. The little kid with one arm, he's playing golf. Snoop Dogg is playing golf. The two guys on the skateboard are playing, they're getting ready to go play golf. Or the guys on the beach, they're playing a game on the beach that involves a golf club and a fun ball. And so there's a way to show golf and do it in a way that's never really been done before, and invite more people to try golf. And we're going to embark on that. You're going to see the industry do some things in the next couple months where we begin to roll out messaging, not just targeted to underrepresented groups, but to invite everyone to try golf, whether that's a Topgolf, a driving range. You don't have to play 18 holes. Whether that's a little 3-year-old girl who's chipping a ball in her backyard, whatever it is, there's a lot of ways that you can try golf. And we're gonna hopefully do, if we do this right, we're gonna show golf in ways that have never been shown before. And maybe people will say, you know what? If I have a club and a ball, I'm playing golf, even if it's just on the beach and I'm having fun. So we're excited to really work on this effort and bring more folks into golf of all ages, genders, ethnic backgrounds, etc. So you'll hear more about that in the coming months, but it's pretty exciting. So that's it for me. I think we can pause for some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Matt, for that excellent presentation. Very uplifting, wonderful. As a reminder, audience members can still enter questions, but we are now going to review some of the questions that came through earlier. I think you covered the one on the pivoting to the virtual environment. So I'm going to move on to the next one that came in, which was what strategies can an organization use to remain resilient and agile and prepare for the unknown? Seems like you
Yeah,
have some experience there.
that's a great question. I think the first thing there is pretend something big is about to happen. What do you control? So it's the thing of like the mobile ad that 2.5 weeks in still wasn't cut off. Generally speaking, there's a way that you can say, okay, we've got to immediately communicate with our media partners to stop trafficking certain creative that is in the queue to run, right? That's the first thing. Like, what do you need to pause? It's actually okay to stop all of your marketing while you get organized. Because the worst thing that you can do is to continue to push stuff out that may not be relevant or could actually offend people, right? During the shutdown, if we just continue to run TV spots showing fans high-fiving players, we would have been absolutely crushed on social media. People would have said, you're not paying attention, you're not listening. Why are they touching one another? We're not supposed to do that now. So actually just pausing, having a strategy of pause, get in a war room, talk about what's appropriate, talk about what you need to think through. That's really like having a war room atmosphere, or almost like a crisis management approach, is a really good thing from a marketing point of view. And how are you going to do listening on social channels? What are your customers or your fans saying about your brand and what you're doing or what you're not doing? So do you have that? Are you constantly listening? That's another big one. Just your ability to listen and respond to your customers in real time is important. The other thing I'd say is just have a culture, and this is not easy. How do you infuse a culture within your marketing team where they need to expect the unexpected? Instead of panicking, they need to be ready and armed. So the more you prepare up front for, like, look, if something happens, here's the process we're going to go through as a team. As a marketing leader, if you get organized ahead of time, they'll be less frantic and less panicked and more appreciative of the fact that, wait, we have a protocol, we have a process we can follow if there's an emergency, and here's what we're going to do. And our leader has already helped us think that through in advance. So those are just a few things that I would recommend.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go to this one that just came in. And is your effort to grow and diversify golf also focused on helping your organization more purposefully pursue EDI efforts?
I think it is for every golf organization. There's in the wake of the tragedies of last summer, every organization across the planet, I think, reflected and looked in the mirror and said, what else can we do? What else can we do to be part of the conversation? We may not have all the answers, but what else can we do to do the right thing here? And let's be purposeful about it. So there's already a ton of efforts underway. The PGA Tour committed $100 million over the next 10 years to work in every single market where we have a tournament. When a tournament rolls into town, how are we working with the sponsors and the host organization to partner with diverse organizations locally in that market, to not only spread the word of what they're passionate about, but also directly fund certain efforts that advance the causes of minority organizations, businesses, et cetera. So a lot of that's already happening. This campaign is going to, I call it a campaign. It's really a movement. I don't like calling it a campaign because this is a multi-year movement. This is something we have to change for our sport overall. And it's going to take time. It's going to take time, but we have to try to push the boundaries a little bit. And I think this is going to help every organization. We're working with the manufacturers and the retailers on the things that they're doing already. Here's one example, and this is outside of marketing. There's no one job board for every position in the golf industry. There's job boards, but if you want to work in golf, if you want to have a career in golf, most people think, well, I either have to be a teaching professional or I have to, be on tour or something. Wrong. There's a lot of different jobs in golf on the retail side, manufacturing side, at the league side. We need to develop one common job board where all the organizations can post their jobs there, and all audiences, diverse and otherwise, have a chance to work in the golf industry. So a lot of things underway. This is going to take time, but we're excited to get started in the spring on the market.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Matt Corey of the PGA Tour. We really, really appreciate you being with us today. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this fantastic session. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. And our next session will begin at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be a fireside chat titled Conversational Marketing, How to Improve Conversion and Drive ROI. You will be automatically redirected to the next session. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, everyone, again.